Would you say having the entrepreneurial mindset definitely gave you more edge going into financial planning or into a sector?
The actual story of NextGen was related to my father dying. So what essentially happened, my dad had been missold to the scale of hundreds of thousands of pounds. And she basically turned around and said, look, you can either moan about it or you can do something about it. We're going to do something about this. The profession needs to be better.
What culture are you trying to build? What's the purpose?
I see a sector where probably 10 to 15% of that profession are doing amazing work. And the reality is probably 80 to 85% are not doing quite good enough. They don't take it as seriously enough as possible. We're very focused on that 10, 15, 20% because we think that's the future of the profession.
You obviously being a previous advisor yourself, what makes a good advisor?
I think
Welcome back to the Zomi Wealthcast, where we explore the ideas of people shaping the world of finance, investment, and financial planning. I'm your host, Jordan, and today's guest has been right in the center of it all. Adam Carolan, CEO of NextGen Planners, a community that's shaping the way financial planning works, feels, and is orientated. What started out as a simple idea has formed into helping thousands of ongoing and current advisors develop through education, progressive thinking, and collaboration. Now CEO of NextGen Planners, Adam was also previously a financial advisor, so he understands the industry from the grounds up. Today, he's leading the way in acquiring talent into the new profession. In this episode, we're looking at Adam's personal journey, what motivated him to start NextGen Planners, how the financial planning world is evolving, and what advisors need to do to stay ahead of the curve. Whether you're an upcoming financial planner or someone looking to get into the industry, this conversation has a lot of insight, fresh thinking, and definitely a dose of inspiration. And I very much look forward for this going out so we can have this conversation, Adam, and see where it develops. Adam, how are you doing?
I'm good, Jordan.
All
That was
good.
the best intro I've ever had. Well done.
Cheers.
Well remembered.
I've tried to parrot think of all the things I was trying to say, and I mean, obviously, there's a lot more I could add to it.
Yeah.
But the list we've got.
You've done my job. I'll just go.
Cheers. Adam, and obviously we met up this morning, and obviously I feel maybe the weather came with you as well. It's usually it's not been like this.
Apparently,
in
it
summer.
always rains in Manchester, but I'm in London currently, and it's absolutely
a bit of bucketing down.
Yeah.
Obviously, a mere introduction of you were previously an advisor. You've studied. You're on a board of a company. You're now running NextGen Planners. Did you ever have some type of idea you do this today? Obviously, your upbringing is probably different, but did you have any incline to entrepreneurial people or interest in business or finance? Where did it start?
Yeah, I mean, I knew I'd be running a business, I think, because I was raised by an entrepreneurial father who had many businesses. I didn't quite know that I'd be in this sector, but I'm very, very happy to be in this sector. It's a brilliant sector.
Right.
But no, so looking back, I think most people will say they fell into financial planning, won't they? And I was definitely one of those people.
When you say fell into financial planning, what was your breakthrough? How did that even develop?
Yeah, so went to university, Durham University, loved it, did banking, business finance. So my whole trajectory was to be an investment banker. I went to do investment banking in London.
Right, okay.
Got homesick, but also, unfortunately, my father took ill. So he died from cancer while I was at university.
Well, okay, yeah. Well, sorry to hear that.
It's right. I had to come back to run his businesses. So I did a year of basically running the family business that we sold those businesses. And then I basically ended up taking a job with a company called Aegon, who used to be Scottish Equitable. And this guy just took a chance on me. So obviously I was very well qualified. I had a good degree, had fairly good A-levels and GCSEs. But everyone that I went to said I was overqualified for the jobs. So I went to stockbrokers, I went to all sorts. And there was a guy called Conor Quealy, actually. And he just said, look, I'm going to take a chance on you because you're overqualified for the job, but you seem like you've got a good attitude. And that was me. So I'm early 40s now, but some of the people listening to this might remember A-Day.
Right.
So A-Day, I think, was 2005, 2006. So it's a massive thing within the financial sector. and I was working for Aegon Scottish Equitable at the time, and I was basically sales support. So we had a
Very
sales
commission
guy
driven,
we had a
pre-ODR.
sales guy going out. So this was basically, I think it was pre-RDR, but it was a massive thing because pensions could be released, is what I remember. So we had a sales guy going out, and I was basically that sales guy's number 2.
Try to get all the pensions.
Yeah, so basically transfer all the pensions, yeah. And it was great, absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
But that was my first interaction with financial advice and IFAs. Some of the guys that I met absolutely loved, and some of the guys thought I wouldn't want them advising my family. So from there, I then found my way into an IFA firm, but then I actually got made redundant because it was the great financial crash. So that was interesting.
Soon came up a few years later, and everyone made nearly, 50% back.
I'd literally got a job in an IFA firm when the financial crash happened. So that was interesting. So I got made redundant, and then I was unemployed for quite a bit, actually. So a few months, because no one was taking any people on during that time because the world was ending. And then again, another person took a chance on me. So I then joined an IFA firm, and a guy called Dominic Baldwin and Kate Baldwin, who were married at the time, brought me in as, I think, employee number 3. And then I worked my way up through that firm to eventually to be running it. And we grew that firm quite substantially, which was great. Had a lot of good time, had 10 years at that firm, a lot of good years, which was great. And it gave me, my first day, this always makes me laugh. My first day was a PC on my desk. So my first job was a box that I had to unbox and basically lay out this PC. And that was my first day in that role. And I did every job. I cleaned cars. I did everything in that role to go, all the way up, really. So I did admin, did power planning, I did financial planning, I ran the company. I did every single role in that business over 10 years.
That's obviously nowadays, I think a lot of people come into a profession or obviously a bit lucky in that in instant where it's more like data technical stuff where you get put into a role. Obviously, sorry about your late father, and I'm sure a pivotal part of your life and your upbringing as well. Would you say, obviously, having the entrepreneurial mindset and the lessons and teachings in looking after business definitely gave you, I'll say, I guess a higher pedestal to stand on, but definitely more edge going into financial planning or into a sector?
Yeah, I think it did. I was fairly studious as well. So I was fairly good at money, finance, all that sort of stuff. So if you grow up around entrepreneurism, you just learn, you pick it up as young kids, and I try and give that to my kids. But the actual story of NextGen was related to my father dying. So what essentially happened was, round about 5 years into the role of that firm, we basically found out that my dad had been missold to the scale of hundreds of thousands of pounds, is what essentially happened.
Oh, wow.
So, for some that no final salary scheme. So my dad was essentially taken out of a final salary scheme that would have paid my mum a serious amount of money, transferred, the company went bust, and they lost hundreds of thousands of pounds. So we only found that out really afterwards when I became a financial planner, and I looked at all the stuff and was like, well, because my father was a wealthy man. He'd come from nothing. He'd made loads of money, and then he basically went back to nothing because my mum wasn't ready to deal with finances. And I looked at it a few years later, was like, well, where's all the money gone? Like, what's happened? So I looked at all the paperwork, and basically he'd had two or three events or bad financial advice. Okay, so you've got to think what I was like. I was like, I'm a financial advisor, and I feel really like gutted, and I've got to tell my mum I'm a financial advisor, and by the way, the financial advisor that you trusted, that took you on the Orient Express and all that sort of stuff and sold you everything, has lost you hundreds of thousands of pounds. So I had to do that. And she basically turned around and said, look, you can either moan about it or you can do something about it. So, and that was the creation of NextGen Planners. Was me and a guy called Rohan Sivajoti got together. We shared a pint in the pub and said, look, we're going to do something about this. The profession needs to be better because right now it's not something I'm proud of. So that was the creation of NextGen Planners. So I set up NextGen Planners with Rohan and basically as a side hustle, just to make sure, in my mind, that the next generation was going to be better than the last.
Wow. And that was the pivotal moment
That was the pivotal moment.
From not just now leading with clients, but actually changing the profession as a whole. That's an incredible story. And thanks for sharing that as well. I think we spoke about this deeply as well, I guess. You look at pre-RDR and you look at consumer duty. And obviously FCA are aware of this. And I think obviously the study orientation is changing too. But it's almost gone to a point now where they've just thrown so many things to try to better the industry, but they've not done it in probably a very much calculated way. Especially the teachings, with NextGen. I mean, the platform itself, the community itself is fantastic. So obviously now with NextGen, it's obviously for collaborative, for education, for teaching. Where do you start creating NextGen? Where did you start originally? And now it's obviously led up in different departments within NextGen.
Yeah.
So you've obviously first educational, but now it's led on to different departments too.
Yeah. So we'll talk about the evolution. So day one, we didn't know what it was going to become. And the first thing was an event for financial planners in Manchester. So we got about 20 to 25 financial planners to an event in Manchester. And then we thought, right, okay, we've got something here. I think the second thing is we set up a Facebook group, free Facebook group. And
when is this? This is nearly 8 years ago. So it's 2017?
This is 7 or 8 years ago. So I think we're 9 years in now.
Right.
So this is 7 or 8 years ago. So we set up a free Facebook group and then people started coming. We then set up a podcast. So we were podcasting when it was
not even a thing, really.
Not even a thing. And it was amazing because what the podcast did, I think we're over 200 episodes now. It's something stupid like that.
I did have a look, to be fair. Yeah.
Is it? I mean, I've not followed it.
There's a lot on there.
I mean, it's 100 plus, but not far from 200. But I think what the podcast did is it allowed me to get into the minds of the best in the profession. So the first thing that I did in the podcast is I went and sought out 10, 15, 20 of the best people that I thought in the profession and learn from them. So I did it from a selfish perspective because I was asking them questions that I wanted to know because I'm always curious.
So being a sponge, basically, isn't it?
Yeah, it was amazing. So did the podcast. We then set up a Slack group. So technology called Slack, which was a community, and that's where we kind of pivoted to a paid community.
Slack being something like a Discord type of.
Yeah, I mean, it was just like quite a busy community. It's like a forum.
Yeah.
And then I guess it just evolved to the point that during COVID it just became too big because I was still running a financial planning firm, still advising clients, and it just became too big to ignore. So that's when I made the very difficult decision to leave the advice firm, exit the advice firm, which was fine. And then say, right, I need to go and run NextGen Planners. I need to go and work with these guys. Wow. So that was the big moment where, if you think we'd created a virtual training platform, during COVID, it became very, very popular because it was the place that everyone come to. So that was the moment. Did it during COVID. Made a very difficult decision, and then ever since we've just been growing it. So it's it's a proper business now.
That's incredible, and I think industry or profession definitely needs it. I think there's a word, purpose, and what I really want to understand, we spoke about is the purpose of NextGen is really to just get free flowing and correct information out there with us teachings and education, a community, a collaborative point of view. What are you trying to build? Not just your team in NextGen, but the community as a whole. What culture are you trying to build? What's the purpose? Obviously there's a purpose of putting all this collaboration together.
Yeah, the purpose is obviously linked to my personal story. That the profession, and I'll always use the word profession. It's just what I think is where we're going. So a lot of people use the word industry,
Yeah.
but I don't believe in that.
My bad. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's fine. But I'll use the word financial planning profession, because what I see is, I see a sector where probably 10 to 15% of that profession are doing amazing work. Okay. And the reality is probably 80 to 85% are not doing quite good enough. They don't take it as seriously enough as possible. So we're very focused on that 10, 15, 20%, because we think that's the future of the profession. You know, if you think of that, you know, evolution that's going to happen, you know, the average age of the advisor is 57, 60. I'm not saying they've done a bad job, but a lot of these people will be exiting the profession over the next few years.
And to add to that as well, I mean, the FCA register, look at the, I guess, the age demographics. The 30,000 people that's registered on the FCA register. Most of these people are obviously closer to retirement age. And you look at the new young individuals coming in. We spoke with the previous guest. We look at the numbers. Paraphrasing now, I think about 250 advisors registered on the FCA from a study done with the FCA was only 250 advisors registered under the age of 25. Which is quite alarming to a degree.
Yeah.
So yeah, onto your point.
Yeah, I mean, our mentality from day one was the film 300, which was, have you seen the film 300?
I've watched the film.
So the film 300, where you have 300 really, you know, strong individuals can basically lead the way. So we always thought, if we got those people, we helped them, you know, we trained them up, we gave them the tools possible, we think they'll shape the profession, and it's kind of going that way now.
It's rubbing their right shoulders, isn't it? And that feeds off that culture. So, I mean, you've definitely answered the purpose. I mean, obviously on a cultural point of view, by having that whole the 300 thing and everyone rubbing each other, and at least do better and gooder habits, because you get obviously people that stand out like a sore thumb against a historical industry that wasn't always doing the right thing. Or sorry, profession.
Yeah. But just to go on to that, our purpose is not about us, and that's the key. Our purpose is about our members, so, and the firms that we work with. So if you see anything we do, it's not about us. It's about the people that we're trying to power.
Well, and that's amazing culture to be of a community, and that speaks a lot for the team as well, isn't it? Because no one's really egotistic or self-centered. It's more about for the love of the profession, the community that needs a sudden change as well, isn't it? I can imagine obviously having the team within NextGen Planners, you know, all probably very special individuals that all believe on the change and the cause.
Yeah, I mean, we've got an amazing team. We're only a small team, very lean team, very technology based. But I've been really lucky to work with people like Adam Owen, who's you know, I've worked with for many years. So he was a visionary in terms of the community aspect. So he was passionate about building community, and I'm really brilliant at building that community. And we've
very well spoken as well.
Very well spoken.
Very well spoken.
Yeah. So ex-PFS president, brilliant guy, really, really smart. And I've got my co-founder Rohan, you know, in terms of, I mean, he's super smart, brilliant at selling the idea, you know, and we just work well as a team. You know, we're all going in the right direction. It doesn't mean we always agree, but we always respect each other's opinion.
That's really good. NextGen is a platform. What is in common? What's the whole built platform for? Because it's about community led, about collaboration. But what else can, if people to go onto NextGen Planners, subscribe as a member?
Yeah, so it's a paid for community that where you get CPD, you get content, you get the training. I think we discussed it. RO1 to RO5 is included. RO1, and we have about 800 people doing that, maybe 900. So as a platform, we're trying to throw value. I mean, it's incredibly priced, really.
Yeah.
But that's for a purpose. We're trying to make people better at what they do. So we've got cash flow planning modules, we've got soft skill modules, we've got vulnerability training. We're throwing things out.
Everything, yeah.
AI stuff. The way that we run it is we ask people what you're struggling with, what do you want to get better at, and then we build content around it. So the way to think about NextGen now is we are a media company. You know, everything we do is media based, everything's content based, and trying to build value.
Very visual enticing, isn't it? Especially with the younger generation. I mean, obviously I think we're very much born on social media and the phones, and it's becoming even a bigger thing now.
Yeah.
And it's obviously visual.
And the other thing is, it's very lonely as well when you're either running a business or you're being a financial advisor. So we've tried to create that. What we did really well in the first few years for the community is we made it a safe space. So we actually kicked out loads of people
Right.
from the community in the early days that just didn't have good intentions.
Toxic. Yeah.
So we just made it a positive, safe space. There's no stupid questions. Come in, and anyone that is a bit
Yeah.
I can't say it on a podcast, but anyone who says
Yeah.
stupid stuff, we just kick them out.
Yeah, but rightly so as well. Right. Also, I think because you've got a younger audience on there as well, and to hear and see those things in the community is probably not the best. So it's good you have that filtered out. One thing I saw as well being on the platform, it's almost like peer active learning, which I think is really good in this profession, because you spoke about supplying modules or teachings for the RO exams. So obviously it's RO1 to RO6. You look at all the big charter institutes that you have to go and get these qualifications through. Because bear in mind, you can go onto NextGen, but you still have to do the exams through whatever given institute. The modules out there are so dry, and they are incredible. I wouldn't say difficult. The content itself isn't difficult. It's long. It's a good chapter in each exam, but the way to take it in is not always the best way presented by these institutes. And I think obviously NextGen is making a big movement on that.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I did those. So I was a fellow.
Right,
so
I guess
so I think to get a fellow, I think I did 14 to 15 exams.
Wow.
And everything we build is basically stuff that we wanted back in the day. So I would have loved to have NextGen back in the day.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, I can imagine most of the advices. Yeah.
I just remember reading that textbook, making notes, dictating to myself, and then walking round whilst listening to myself say it. That was the way that I learned.
You know what's ridiculous now? Imagine AI was 10 years ago, because the way I learn is like active learning. So if I don't understand anything in the modules, I'll go put on ChatGPT and just, can you familiarize this for me, please? I'll go, I get it now. And I'll go back to the context and then go on, because the books don't actually explain to the best. They kind of expect you to know it.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I know you're a big tech guy. You love technology. You love movements. You love changes. You love things that create, eruptions to the profession, but for the better, not for the worse. Obviously, NextGen, when this podcast probably goes out, you're doing a big rebranding. You're growing up.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the evolution of the company, really. So NextGen Planners has been great, but we've always been pigeonholed into like a certain space, which is younger training advisors, and we have a lot of those. Yeah. But the reality of NextGen Planners now, as it is, it's a wide variety.
It's everyone.
So we've got business owners, we've got trainees, we've got administrators, we've got paraplanners, we've got everyone. We now have business memberships, enterprise memberships. We're working with some of the bigger firms. And the reality is now, we've grown quite quickly. We've got an external investor, and we need to grow up as a business because we've got big ambitions. So I'm still fairly young. I'm not necessarily a NextGen planner anymore because I'm in my 40s. So when I set it up, I was in my mid 30s. I could say, look, I'm a NextGen planner. We just felt like it was time to basically just, make a statement and say, look, we're going to be here for a long time. We're going to go for it.
And I truthfully believe the cause as well. And, Adam, I'm a big fan of what you're doing, big fan of the team. I'm fully all for it. And I think, it's part of the industry that hasn't been touched on properly. Obviously, I know you built 8 years ago, but I think it's going to open so many more barriers to entry into the industry. We spoke about this. Some people think the financial advisory industry and profession has a lot of barriers to entry or closed barriers to entry, when it's not necessarily the case, but it's just not advertised like that.
Yeah.
And through what you guys are doing as a team and the cause and the belief and the driven purpose, it's fantastic.
Talking about the rebrand, because it is worth talking about, and it will be mentioned quite a lot in our sector because we're fairly well known. The key for us is, everyone says, like, are you not worried about losing like your baby NextGen Planners and all that sort of stuff? And to be honest, it's not about us. No one really cares about NextGen Planners or Plannex. What they care about is what we do for them. So we've kind of taken that approach and say, We're going to simplify what we do. We're going to improve what we're going to do, double down on what we do really well, and we're going to use the rebrand to do that.
And create the flagship and
Yeah,
drive that.
it's not about us. It's about our members.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I'm excited for the rebranding. Obviously, when it comes out, and to be quite frank, I hope most firms, if not all firms, actually, join NextGen or Plannex and join that drive, because the big thing we need in the industry is succession planning. It's not a negative thing. Succession planning, I mean, as in we need younger people to come into the industry. Not just younger, I guess, just need good people to come into the industry. And obviously, Plannex opens those doors for that. The sector as a whole and the profession. We talked about technology earlier, and it's definitely a pivotal part of financial advisory world. Where do you see the industry leading up to in the next coming years? We've got all the different tech stacks. We've got so many systems going about, compliance and all the rest, but tech especially. It's almost more efficient now to be an advisor because you can get more done.
At the moment, I'm not convinced it is.
Okay.
So I don't think...
Not with AI and automation.
Well, I think as our business, we use AI very heavily. So I think we're way more efficient. I particularly am more efficient. I put out a post recently that I reckon I spend 2-3 hours on AI every day.
I read all the LinkedIn posts,
GPT, and it's just amazing what you can do. But I don't necessarily see that's translated into the regulatory world at the moment, because running a regulated business is difficult. We're seeing some of the AI tools that solve specific pain points in the sector come in, which is really interesting, great to see. So I think right now, as we record this podcast, I don't think a lot of firms are disillusioned from what we see at what AI is doing. I think if you fast forward 12 months, I think it will have changed almost everything. And I think if you will fast forward to 5 years, I think we'll look back and we won't recognize it. And I think that's how scary this stuff is.
And moves quick as well.
And what I liken this to, for your listeners, is I liken it to the moment when a firm called Intelligent Office came into our building. And this was years ago. This must have been about 10, 12 years ago. And at the time, I think we were using a thing called Xplan, which was like a disk that you put into a server, and that was your CRM. An Intelligent Office came to us and said, right, okay, we've got a cloud-based solution. And I just remember thinking, what do you mean cloud-based solutions? Yeah. Well, it's in the cloud. I'm like, I've got no idea what you're talking about. You're going to have to break this down for me, because I'm really curious, but I need to know the detail. Well, it's in the sky, and everything is connected to the internet. And obviously I knew what the internet is, but I didn't know what the cloud was at that point. So this moment that's coming is like that transition for me, and it might be bigger, where firms went from physical to digital. Okay, and it changed everything. It changed everything for our firm. So it'll be really interesting to see how it transpires. But I think we're underestimating how much it changes.
Oh, okay, wow.
I think we're underestimating how much it changes. I mean, we look back now, so we're doing this in June 2025. I think ChatGPT was created about 18 months ago, or the version that we know was created 18 months ago, I think. But I think it was November 2000.
Or so many people are piggybacking on the code as well and creating their own AI. Yeah.
So we forget these things, and it's almost like, it's going to be absolutely huge.
I completely agree. I think AI and automation industry, I think you would agree that the financial sector profession is very administrative heavy within provider platforms or providers to providers and transfers and paperwork and compliance paperwork. And what's going to happen is almost going to not kill our middle person, but it's not to scare the industry. It's almost in a good way, it can create more efficiency. And you can probably get away doing a lot more things. I think next thing as well, does it go as far as almost giving the advice, which I think a lot of advisors are probably cautious about.
Yeah.
But I think as a human element, we always want to know, can you check this for me? Is it correct? Does that make sense? And I think that will never disappear. Maybe not. But on the almost 80% of what you're talking about, I agree completely. And then the next question really goes, What's the proposition of financial planning in the next 10 years? What does that look like?
My answer to that is I don't think we know, and
Yeah.
anyone that is predicting it or saying that they know, I think is not being, you know,
Yeah.
not
That you
being true,
can't.
not
Yeah.
being truthful, because you can't predict the way that technology changes things.
Do you think we should be concerned or scared about that, or more excited?
I think there's a bit of both.
Yeah.
Um, if I was running a financial planning firm now, and we talk about, I speak to a lot of financial planning firms about AI. I get messages almost daily asking me about AI. My advice is to stay nimble, stay flexible, stay open-minded, and actually, curious and lean into the technology, because I think those firms will win. I think if you bury your head in the sand, you could be gone in a few years.
I think it's almost coming to a point now where you can't avoid the AI drive. It's almost everywhere. Transcriptions, recording of meetings, efficiency and suitability reports. It's too big to avoid. So you're going to have to almost implement it somewhere in your workflows, especially as a firm, or even a single advisor in your every day to day.
What's been really interesting is no one's really found a way to scale a proper life financial planning business yet. Okay. It's really hard to scale because it's based on many touch points, many experience points. It's based on high premium, high relationship, full fat financial planning. I'm not talking about financial advice firms at scale. I'm talking about like proper financial planning. No one's really found a way to scale
The holistic advice,
Yeah, no one's really found a way to scale that yet. I think that will change in the next few years because a lot of the stuff that around the edges will be taken away.
I completely agree. And AI is one part I think of tech that's coming to the industry. Obviously industry's changed as well because there's so many different developers out there creating different things for the financial service sector: cash flow modeling, asset map, visuals, back office CRM systems. We see all these new tech-based platforms coming out, also piggybacking off Microsoft's Power BI or Power Platform. Personally, I mean, what's your opinion on all these different tech stacks? Because they don't all sync. There's no one single solution for everything at the moment. And you talk about scalability. That also, I guess, has a caveat to it as well.
Well, look at where the money's going. So what are all the top tech firms doing? What are all the PE firms doing? They're all chasing the AI race, aren't they?
Yeah.
So I think I always look at what the big tech firms doing. I think today Apple have done a deal with Anthropic. I think they know that they've got to win that AI race to stay relevant. So I look at that and think, right, okay. I look at that as a business owner and think we need to be thinking AI here. Yeah. And I speak to many other businesses and I think they need to be thinking AI. I'm looking at the tech businesses that you talked about, and they must know they need to be thinking about AI.
A big elephant in the room, 100%.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, you won't have a choice because, I can go and build which I have done this week. I can go and build a tool now, and it'll be nowhere near as good as this technology in about 4 hours using AI.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's really ridiculous. Talking about tech and all the rest, obviously, back to NextGen. Obviously built a community and a collaboration for upcoming advisors, for people entering into the industry. You obviously being a previous advisor yourself. I like asking guests this, that obviously have worked in the sector themselves, and it's quite biased or subjective to yourself, but what makes a good advisor? And obviously having the scenario with your late father, what should people look out for? So people who are watching this that have advised themselves, that are in the financial advisory sector, and people that are advisors to go, right, I need to maybe touch up on these points.
Yeah, great question. I think, we just talked about AI. The human element's going to be more important than ever. I think relationships going to be more important than ever. I think people are always going to trust people. There'll definitely be people that trust technology more than people, but there'll always be a space for people to trust people. So I think the human element, learning those skills, I think learning sales skills are probably the most important, underrated thing.
You've touched a really, really big point there. So obviously, let's go commission driven 10 years ago. heavy sales, right? Almost not necessarily the other part of the technical aspect of it, which is great, because obviously a lot of I guess the old advisors have amazing sales, good soft points, good touch points, and the younger generation coming through are more the data analyst, the technical, etc. You know, and I think some firms are finding it difficult to bring in that sales element piece to it too. I use sales as caveat, relationship, type of touching, client-facing work, and yeah, I completely agree.
My starting point is, if you believe in financial planning, you believe in what you do, you need to go and sell it. Because if you don't sell it, no one can benefit from it. So that's a really simple thing to think about. So you've just got to learn that. So we say that as a younger advisor, you've got to put yourself out of your comfort zone. You've got to go and speak to people. You've got to network. I mean, I don't see enough people going networking these days. I used to spend 2 or 3 nights networking, building my connections, knowing that, you know, as an advisor, your network is so important. You know, get professional connections, you get your foot in the door,
referrals, everything.
You know, I just think it's so easy to sit behind a screen and a laptop, and you could do it virtually, you could do it physically, but how much of your time is actually dedicated to actually, you know, going out there?
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, the thing with social media and stuff, it's very easy to reach out on LinkedIn and so on, but we spoke about this. It's so much more different just looking someone in the face in person, shaking their hands, and building that reputation and relationship. You know, obviously going out and doing networking is obviously an effort, but you know, for advisors today, it is lonely. It can be lonely if you go and do your own thing, start out on your own. How do you stay motivated as an advisor, or keep that effort in to just go out and do it?
Yeah, well, I don't think you have a choice. I think it's too easy to. I mean, look, you've got to be realistic here. So it's a well-paid sector. A chartered financial planner is fairly well paid. You go through the career transition, and businesses, whether you like it or not, will look at you as they call it a hunter or a farmer. Okay,
I was about to touch on that.
A farmer is obviously, and there's nothing wrong with this, a really good servicing advisor. Okay, but the reality of being a farmer, as well, I'm not a massive fan of the way they say it, but this is what profession says. There has to be your earnings trajectory hits a certain level. Okay,
ceiling. Yeah.
If you have the skill of being able to win new clients, bring business in, build businesses, the reality is you'll probably be running your own business one day, because that's the entrepreneurial way. Your earnings trajectory are 10, 20, 30-fold, okay, or maybe 100-fold. So I think if you have ambition as a younger advisor, you need to learn these skills, and you need to accept that you're not always going to be comfortable. You're going to have to, you're going to have to be, people are going to say no to you all the time, and you're going to have to accept that. And that's just the way of the world.
You know, you hit the nail on the head. I couldn't say anything less to that, and I agree. I think you have to feel comfortable feeling uncomfortable. I think that's the biggest thing. And especially in this industry now than ever, client facing is going to become probably the biggest part of setting yourself different to the industry or to the profession. You know, obviously you start out as a financial planner, you had the entrepreneurial mentality and mindset. Is there anything you wished you knew earlier when you just started your career in as a financial planner that you know now that you wish you could know back then?
Not really, because I've made every mistake in the book.
And you have to make them.
Yeah, I've failed a lot of times. I think I've got to a good place. There's no shortcut, I don't think. I think you have to go through the process. I think particularly when you're building your career, you have to kiss a lot of frogs. You have to deal with a lot of difficult situations. You have to learn from them. When I was younger, I was a lot more quick to react to things. You know, younger, more passionate, all that sort of stuff. I've learned to deal with a lot of adversity as you build a business and you deal with people, thick skin. You take your time, you learn a lesson.
So a lot of younger people do.
I think, but my point is, I think you have to go through that to understand. You know, I don't really, it's a difficult question for me. I don't really look
Yeah.
back. You know, it's just not what I do. I just look at where I am now and where we're going.
Move on, go
Yeah.
forward with it. Yeah. Either way, it's very valuable. And I think people shouldn't find fear in failing or having mistakes. You have to accept them because they're going to happen, and no one is perfect. That's the industry. I think it's just riding with the waves and riding it out, and looking future forward planning.
A useful skill of mine has always been to stay open-minded. So I think I was told by a friend recently, hold strong ideas loosely. So I think that's what he said. But the idea of we can change at any time, particularly with technology and the way that the profession's going, you know, just to stay flexible and open-minded at any time. Obviously, I know what I'm doing, I know what I'm trying to executing, but every time I'm trying to seek information, say, am I wrong? You know, are there other opinions that I'm not aware of that I need to be thinking about? I think start there, and I think you'll be all right. We call it always learning, stay curious.
Always learning, stay curious.
Yeah.
That's good. I think good one as well is be proactive, not reactive.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a big one. Obviously, you're driving a cause, and I would say a movement, to be quite frank. Obviously, that's probably quite a big thing for you as a CEO, especially of NextGen going to Plannex now. You know, how was that taught you, you know, having to be passionate about that movement, but also portraying it not just to your team, but to other people you deal with on a community basis?
So in terms of running the business
And driving that movement for what the business stands for.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, our business is about the members. So, you know, we're always seeking feedback from the members in terms of where we're going. One thing that I haven't mentioned is we're also member backed. So we raised some money a few years ago, and it was the only way we did it through crowdfunding. It's the only way we could find a way of doing it to get shares in our members' hands. So our members bought into us via EIS crowdfunding.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
So that was great because a lot of our members are now shareholders of NextGen, just about to be or will be Plannex. So, you know, that's not difficult for us because we've got two and a bit thousand members that we, you know, we try and help every single day. Running the company is a bit different. So you have to be methodical, I think, when you're running a company. I see a lot of business owners that get distracted by shiny new things, and I'm very much we need to finish it, we need to simplify it, and you know that's very much my way. But we're just trying to deliver value at any possible angle.
And what's your philosophy or your, I guess, perspective on setback and pressures?
It's just an opportunity. So I just see anything like that. I'm a very optimistic person, overly optimistic, as my wife would say. I just see anything as any setback. I just say, what's the opportunity in this?
Beautiful perspective to have.
Yeah, and I'm very lucky. That was the way I was brought up.
Yeah.
You know, I know some people aren't so lucky, but I just look at, well, what's next. You know, my brain is wired to. I've trained to try and stay in the present. So I did that as a financial planner.
Yeah.
Because I think that's important. Skill of being a financial planner is trying to stay in the present with the client is really important. So I've trained that way, and that's helped me. But you know, my brain is very much, you know,
but you're naturally entrepreneurial. I think.
Yeah. It's just like, well, what's next? But trying to stay focused.
Would you say you have like it's like alpha and beta, gamma, where obviously you're very entrepreneurial, you're very overly optimistic, and then you have someone with you who goes, pulls in the reins a little bit. Have you thought about this just quickly?
Well, I'm actually the person that pulls in the reins.
Oh, right.
So we've got a really.
Is there someone even more?
We've got a really good dynamic. So my co-founders will often be ideas people, and I'm all for ideas, but I have a real OCD of having to finish something, and I just can't handle it if it's not finished or delivered or executed.
That's brilliant.
So it's quite a valuable skill to have that. So it's more of an ops type brain, I would say.
All right, fair enough. Obviously you spoke about, you know, NextGen and the rebranding and, you know, previously in life and how it developed to where you are now, you know, and the setbacks and the life learnings and what advisors and upcoming advisors can take in. But obviously you're Adam, you have a family, you're your own individual. How do you switch off from all of this? What do you do? You know, what's your hobbies outside of, I know you're an entrepreneur and you're CEO and you've got a lot of pressure,
Yeah.
but you're still a human, you're still your own individual self.
Yeah, it's an interesting question because I rarely switch off. So if we go on a holiday, I'll probably have 3 or 4 days, and then I'm back on. So the way that I work is I work in cycles. So I have high energy and I have low energy. So if I have high energy, it's like, right, I need to get stuff done. And then if I have low energy, you know, I'm a big golfer. I like playing sport. I like going to the gym. I'll go and take myself somewhere, just completely different.
Well, bear in mind, golf as well might not take your mind off all the pressure as well, because I mean, depends how good the day it is as well, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I've kind of got to grips with that. You know, so I used to play cricket. So cricket was so I was a batsman at cricket. My issue was I could have one ball. And now with golf, I get 70, 80, 85 goes, so it's dead easy.
Brilliant. Yeah.
So yeah, I've got better at that.
That's
switching off. You know, I'm still not good. I still don't think any entrepreneur or any business owner is particularly good at it. I think the way that I think at the moment is I feel like I'm in the peak of my career. So I feel like I'm a good age. And one of my mentors said this to me. This is the time when you build stuff. You know, you've got good energy, you're late 30s, early 40s. This is when most businesses are built. And I feel like I need to be on at this point. And I would say what I do is manage my energy with health, try and be healthy, but also go to gym and all that sort of stuff. I'm very, very mindful of the way that I spend my day.
That's good. I think mental health is a big thing as well. I think it's something you can't avoid. As stoic as you might be and you have all really good perspectives, some things creep in that you don't even plan for and just happens naturally. So having that balance in life is also very, very good. And you always touched on the point that, you know, you can't switch off. You know, we had a guest who's obviously a fund manager and he lives in the stock market. He physically cannot switch off, wakes up, first thing he does is look at the news. But that's a profession. That's, I guess, I think everyone is unique and you shouldn't always aspire to be someone else. Obviously, you have a mentor that leads you in guidance, but everyone is unique to himself, aren't they?
Yeah, and I've got 2 small kids, all 8 and 10, so I'm usually running around after them. So being
a referee of some sort,
doing stuff with them. So that takes me out of it. That's amazing, fine. Man. So I think staying grounded, you know, trying to stay healthy, trying to stay active is important. I think a key thing here is surrounding yourself with good people. So my team are amazing. So we say fountains, not drains, is one of our key cultures. So if I speak to you, you know, we want energetic people to be in our team. You don't want to deal with people that are going to take your energy. And we've been really, really lucky with the community that we have that, and really lucky with the team that we have that as well.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's amazing. I think just as closing reflections, I think for people that are going to listen to this podcast, and I hope everyone does, because I think, honestly, I've taken in so much good information. I think it's, you know, Adam, genuinely, thank you very much. Is there anything from this conversation you'd want listeners or viewers to take away from this?
The main thing is I think it's a great profession. I think it's a brilliant profession to be in. I think not enough people know how important what we do is, financial planning. And I just think it's a great career that's only going to get better. If you look at the different careers that are going to happen and going to be changed with AI over the next 5-10 years, you know, we are in a human-based, people-first career, aren't we? And my belief is that we will always need this kind of interaction to trust with financial advice. I actually think that we're going to be one of the few sectors that's going to be really, really devastated by AI, because people will always want people to manage their money and trust.
It's managing those expectations later on when it comes and you said in 12 years from now or 3 years from now.
So I think staying optimistic about the future, staying open-minded and flexible about the way it could work. So, you know, we'll go back to like what we talked about previously. Yeah, the reality is we're going to see men or women bands running millions of pounds surrounded by AI people, AI agents. We're going to see that, aren't we? I think that's going to happen. But it's still going to need that one person, or that small team. And I just think it's a brilliant career. I just think it's a brilliant sector. I think more people need advice. Not enough people get great advice. So I think the cost of advice coming down will be a good thing for that. And I just think it's a huge opportunity for anyone looking at a new career. I think come over to financial planning, we'll welcome you.
That's brilliant. Adam, it's been a pleasure, and I enjoyed picking your brain. I think obviously, like I said, you're in the center of it all, and you're obviously running for a cause and a purpose that the profession needs massively. And hopefully you're not going to ruffle too many other people's feathers while you're doing this, but I think it's needed. And like I said, big fan of what you're doing and what your team are doing. And, I could only speak, just good words about you and your team. And once again, thanks for also giving me the opportunity to have you on here. And I hope everyone can take away a lot of messages from this. And
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, Jordan.
It's all good. Thank you.
Cheers.